Now let's have a look at this one. Now this is one that was quite complex. It ran right through the English department, and these are not negotiable. This, somewhere, this house has a ground plan for 3 floors. Not negotiable. That's how it looks. That puts the sense of period. It'll tell you the quality of the brickwork. It'll tell you it's got Tudor chimneys. It was actually done in colour, the original one, and this is another copy. The ground plan is absolutely right for Tudor houses on all floors. It is also to scale for the older people who may be working on furnishing rooms, buying carpets, doing area, and so on. It is absolutely correct to scale. It is labelled correctly. It is a plan. A plan, the first floor, Challoner Hall, Morwick. It's been done by architects. That's all we've done in that sense. This is the folly that belongs to the grounds. And this again had scale drawings with it. So we could see it was nowhere near, it was only big enough for a body really. It was nowhere near as big as the hall and so on. Now, I don't have the original maps, but there we have, you see, what the children began from. They began from a church and a monument and a shape and nothing else. The first class that came in put the trees in, and the trees were already cut out because it must be authentic and good quality standard when they're finished. We're not interested in asking them to draw trees of any sort, shape and size. It's too important. Later those trees can be identified as oaks, elms, ash and so on, because we want it to, you know, the holly trees, for example, are correctly placed in the churchyard. They've later added the graves, and they've added the names on the graves. It is internally coherent because we've provided a choice of gravestones, but not negotiable. People can't go away and draw a 7'6" gravestone. They're all proportional because it's going to work for months in the school. And it must be pleasant to look at, authentic to look at. So you take away one power to give them another, you know. Now this is not negotiable. This is how Morwick Village is. And these are going to be filled with shops. So there are shops provided. The choice for the children is in terms of time. Where would a really old chemist shop first start to be, and how would it change its outward appearance? So eventually this simple looking map is going to become visually growing through time and changing through time. This is a very early stage. It's got that kind of window because we're planting time, because some of these people are going to look very closely at the family tree and the history of Morwick. So they're going to be history students, you see, looking very closely. This is not negotiable. Nearly killed them doing this. It is absolutely a correct, feasible family tree. All the names are there. You can't change them. You can't change which war they died in, and so on. So that was one of those seminal elements that could not be destroyed. Neither could this. This is the history of Morwick Village. And so we can't change that. It's the Challoner family and how they dwelt in Morwick Village. By fixing that, we give them such a range of behaviours, family life, rebellions, all the sociological aspects of the family can be explored. It was a theatre course that explored all that, because that's the psychology of it. And the names, of course, are authentic. And then, of course, we have a mystery. Now, we created the mystery for one group of difficult children. And it was on their working out what they thought this meant that much of the work of tension developed. And we had it as a stone tablet, well, on brown paper, of course. Long here from Saxon times, we've built the history in. Churchyard tombs give testimony that those who walk this place in present times bear names like those who lie long still in earth. When bones are found where no bones should be, then stirs this place to find a true account. So our little devilish first years became detectives, finding out why there's bones where no bones should be. So we had to invent a folly for the bones to be in. Is this beginning to clarify itself?
Yes. Mm.
And the standard is absolutely essential. We also created a very brief history, well, not a history, but we wanted them eventually to write the guidebook, which of course they can. And we also had a very old chemist shop with the original 3 glass things, because it was part of the mystery. Now you may think, oh, we did the murder, we know all the story, and all the kids have to do is guess it. That is not how it was. We said, from the evidence, when we did find the evidence, which was, of course, where is it? We found bones, paper bones. Gradually, we were able to piece together that somewhere along the line, a chemist came into it. So we then had to do an awful lot of reading up of chemists, logbooks, archives, drugs lists, and so on, you see. And that's how Rolling Roll works. So I wouldn't like you to think I've said, oh, I'll invent the story and all the kids have to do is guess it. No, you plant the seminal elements and they fill it all out according to the way they see it. We also had, and I haven't got the original, a fresco. The fresco was in the church. And you can see from this how it worked in the classroom. I mean, sometimes the fresco was at the front, sometimes the fresco was at the back. Depending upon what was being worked on at any time in that particular class, you do an awful lot of moving your archives around. Now, we had a problem because we had a split site. So we had always, on this occasion, for a full fortnight, to bring all the children to this classroom for their lessons. We could not be carrying things in cars 2 miles away three times. So we only had the smallest possible classroom, and sometimes we had 60 children in there. But it worked, because in their minds they were where they wanted to be, not in the classroom, you see. Because we had to collect things. Now, you may have a central place in your school. People often have corridors they could use for this display material, so that children can always have access to it. The bones were kept in a cardboard box, and when a class needed the bones, they would just come and borrow the bones, you know, and so on. You see here how the shops began to be placed as we understood better how they work. You can't stand there saying, shove a shop in. We suddenly realised we need a chemist. Oh dear, there must have been one then. Wonder where it was. So a chemist gets added. Do you realise that she bought knitting wool, and she must have been too old to go on a bus? Well, there must have been somewhere where she could get knitting wool then. And it says here they went to the library. Well, there's no library here. No, you're right. But that's how it grows, class upon class. But they can't take the chemist shop off to shove the library there.